What would you do if your face was taken from you? If everyone who looked at you saw you as a monster? The world would become cruel and lonely, and you would be rejected and feared. If you lost your face, would the rest of you soon follow? Welcome to Totally Random Horror Films Reviews. I'm Tom. In this series, I randomly select horror films between the years of 1895 and 1989 and review it. For our 8th episode, we find ourselves in 1941. Today's random selection is my very first Peter Lorre film, and a glorious B film it is, Robert Florey's The Face Behind the Mask. Before I watched the film, I researched the usual places for background, as well as the Grunge.com article, The Tragic Story of Peter Lorre's Drug Problem. The idea to include this film came from the movie database. The Face Behind the Mask is based on a radio play, The Interim, by Thomas Edward O'Connell. The film was shot in the U.S. and had a premiere on January 15, 1941 in Nebraska City, Nebraska. The next day, the film was released to the rest of the U.S. It was approved by the MPAA and produced and distributed by Columbia Pictures. The film was directed by Robert Florey. It's black and white, 69 minutes long, and it is available to stream and to download. A little background. Robert Florey grew up near famous film pioneer Georges Méliès and had been directing films for over 20 years when he signed on for this picture. In that span of time, he had helped out with 1931's Frankenstein before he was booted and James Whale took over as the director. And he had also directed a 1932 German expressionist version of Murders in the Rue Morgue. Otherwise, he'd steered clear of anything horror-related over that 20-year span. In fact, The Face Behind the Mask really is a film noir crime drama before it is a horror. There are, however, enough horror elements to merit a look on Totally Random Horror Films, and one of those elements is the newly American actor and Hungarian lush, Peter Lorre, who plays János, or Johnny, Szabó. Lorre up to this point had completed about 36 pictures, notably playing a serial child killer in Fritz Lang's 1931 suspense film, M, and starring in Island of Doomed Men, along with some of the co-stars of this film. Though he was typecast as a villain for quite a while, it would take some time before Peter's career would be entwined with the horror genre. Until now, he had been best known for portraying the Japanese detective Mr. Moto in a series of James Bond-style films. Throughout his career, Lorre struggled with morphine and alcohol problems that sometimes caused him to miss entire days of shooting. Also, after wrapping a film, he would often have to take time off for attempted rehab. Evelyn Keyes stars as Helen Williams, the blind love interest. Keyes was a B-movie actress whose only foray into horror was a co-starring role in a 1940 Boris Karloff film, Before I Hang. Don Beddoe is Lieutenant James O'Hara. He had a part in over 600 films. Horror films prior to this were 1939's The Man They Could Not Hang and Beware Spooks, a haunted house comedy. He was also involved in 1940's Island of Doomed Men with Lorre and Before I Hang with Keyes, so he knew the leads before working with him on this film. George E. Stone plays Dinky. Stone has almost 200 films to his credit, and before this he had a small part in 1933's horror The Vampire Bat. He was another actor who was on set with Lorre and Beddoe for Island of Doomed Men in 1940. Time for the review. First, the spoiler-free review. Right off the bat, I'm sorry, I'm a horror fan and I have waited this long to watch a Peter Lorre film. Beat me. János is an immigrant from Hungary looking for an honest life. A horrible accident leaves his face hideously scarred, and after he is shunned by society, he turns to less reputable means to survive. It turns out János's face was not the only thing he lost, and his actions will only result in him losing much more. This material was written precisely for Peter Lorre, and he elevates it. There are some lines that, coming out of someone else's mouth, would seem so much more cheesy and melodramatic, but Lorre delivers those lines like no one else could, except maybe Morgan Freeman. I found myself enjoying this all the way through. It was short and easy to watch, and Lorre commands the screen and goes from doe-eyed and gentle to dead-eyed and soulless. The supporting cast is fine, and I was impressed with Evelyn Keyes and her portrayal of a blind person. She's pretty good. I don't know how hard it is to play blind people, but I've seen people mess it up pretty bad, and she's pretty believable, I think. While more film noir than horror, Laurie's performance and the nature of his situation evoke a lot of similarities to stories like The Phantom of the Opera, Man Becomes Monster. Now the spoiler review. The horror in the face behind the mask comes from hideous disfigurement and the fear of ugliness, of losing your beauty or growing old, robbing you of your sense of self, of becoming the other, shunned from society, having qualities so repulsive that only dregs would keep you company. Not that there's anything wrong with dregs, some of my closest friends are dregs. János Szabó is a Hungarian, the immigrant that everyone wants, a naive, excited, hard-working, adorable man with the elaborate fantasy of starting a life in America. He intends to bring his wife over once he's gotten established. When he gets off the boat, people treat him like a joke and misdirect him for fun. Oh wait, it's New York. Cones and juices for 5 cents. Now $5 is the new nickel. By stroke of luck, János meets a police officer who brings him to a hotel where he can stay for
$6 a week.
$6 a week. He is told not to cook in his room, but his neighbor decides to do just that. That's why he told him not to do it. And in a flash, the hotel is on fire. János takes some time to put on his shoes. No, just go. But no, just go. But no, too much time and he falls off a railing and into the fire. That was a heck of a bump. Next we know we are at a hospital. János has a 50% chance of survival and is covered with third-degree burns. The police officer writes a note to János on the back of a business card asking János to call him when he's out of the hospital. János is getting the bandages removed from his head, and as they fall away, the staff begins to react. János responds with violent panic when he sees himself in the mirror.
What did you do to my face?
This is a great reveal as we get to see János when he sees himself. It is a brief flash so not to expose the flaws of the makeup, and for most of the rest of the film we do not see his face again. We know kind of what he looks like, but the filmmakers did not have to worry about putting makeup on Laurie every day and presenting János in the light, where the flaws would be apparent and the shock would wear off. János attempts to get jobs as a watchmaker and even working in a factory. He can do anything with his hands. He even flew solo in the army, but no one will hire the poor guy.
I know, but my face makes no difference. How I can work with my hands.
He's in a new world, all alone, incapable of connecting with anyone or taking care of himself. He writes to his fiancée and tells her he's met someone new, knowing she can never look at him as a man again, saving her from the grief of being a widow. Then he goes to the pier and considers ending himself. Luckily, someone comes by to ask for a smoke, and is promptly repelled by János when he lights a match and exposes his face. Another figure creeps from the shadows and introduces himself as Dinky.
My name is Dinky.
But Dinky was watching János. Oh, come on, man, Dinky. Really? Okay, look, it just sounds funny, alright? I get it. It means something small, so this guy's kind of small, so it makes sense, but I used to say that in 3rd grade. Dinky talks János out of self-deletion by showing him that he doesn't judge, while János speaks soullessly.
I don't want to live.
What do you get out of being dead?
Nobody will talk to me. Nobody will look at me.
I'm looking at you.
Dinky offers him some of the money he lifted off the smoker. Two end up sticking together.
You can't do wrong and find happiness in life.
But something always went wrong. Something always happened. I saved up some dough and I was going to buy her that chicken ranch she's always wanted. Then I got sick and I went to the hospital for 4 months.
Good night, Dinky.
János ends up taking a job for Dinky when he is sick and earns enough from the heist that he can take care of Dinky and nurse him back to health.
That is all that matters, Dinky.
Every time he says his name, I know it's stupid.
Hello, Dinky.
Slowly, he realizes that the only people who will fit in with are crooks, and the easiest way to support himself is to commit crimes. Having a messed up face makes it easier to do crimes, I guess. Or maybe because he's a watchmaker, he's got hands that can, I don't know. He desperately looks for a way to restore his face.
You can buy a face?
It's being done every day.
What?
All you gotta have is money. I think they call them plastic doctors or something like that.
In the 40s? They can't even do it right now. Laurie's like a vampire here. The plastic surgeon is out, so the offer is made to order a lifelike mask to cover the burns.
I could make you a good mask for about $400.
That's over a year at a hotel. That's 8,000 juices. Janosch and his band pull off heist after heist, and the cops are humiliated.
Ridiculed by every citizen in town. The telephone gets overheated from ha-has.
Wow, people are jerks. That's pretty good. Holy moly, that's really good. That mask is awesome. 1941. I'm not sure how they made masks back then, but I've seen a lot of 80s films get masks and fake heads so completely wrong it's cringeworthy. It's so impressive. And when Janosch puts it on, it's even more impressive. Look, the eyelids and the mouth have perfect articulation without... Look, if the mask restores him to looking like he has real skin, why would he need to pay all the money to get a plastic surgeon? What's the downside to the mask? Look, I get this as a fantasy, but let me indulge the idea that using the prop mask instead of pretending his face was the mask would have been creepier and interesting, just to see how they pulled it off. Anyway, the makeup and the high hairline and Laurie's dead delivery make it look masky.
You should cultivate it more, Dinky.
So Janosch is such an amazing mobster that when the real boss, Jeff Jeffries, returns from prison, the two of them have a power struggle. Why go with Jeff Jeffries when you can have a Chris Christopher, or a Mike Michaels, or a Dick Richards? Dude, what's on the ceiling? Janosch is called Johnny by his subordinates to sound more American, and he's like a different person now. He strong-arms Jeff Jeffries into bending a knee and handing over the power in the gang.
Even if I don't like it, maybe I can take it this way.
More than one person has said that in the bedroom. Janosch returns to the surgeon, but it is deemed that the muscles are so damaged in his face that it would take 15 years to repair his face, inch by inch. And I bet it'll look like a patchwork quilt anyway. Until one day, Janosch literally runs into a girl, or she runs into him. What are you, blind? Oh no, her name's Helen and she is blind. It's fun because people in films do this all the time and they're never blind. And Helen is blind and oh, it's perfect. Perfect wife for an ugly dude. She reminds him of what he lost. Janosch's tenderness reappears from under the numbness he'd been filled with, and Helen picks up on that affection, and a romance is born.
I'm talking too much.
I do that all the time. Oh my gosh, he's just like me. Janosch's relationship with Helen draws him further and further away from his crew until finally Janosch decides to quit the mob. Quit the mob? Love is going to draw him out of this horrible life. Love and not having to get a new face.
Just the two of us in the whole world.
Now we fall in love fast.
From the gentleness of your touch, I know what kind of a man you are.
Whoa, not till he's had a few cocktails.
People who look at me, they see a mask. Artificial. But the face behind the mask, it's mutilated, hideous. A horrible nightmare, out of which I can never awake.
Perfect. Janosch quits the mob. They think he's working with the coppers. Ooh, he just pulled his punk card.
Come on.
Janosch gives Dinky his address and tells him not to give it to anyone. Jeez, Janosch, that's not going to work. I don't believe he's that stupid. But whatever.
Goodbye, Dinky.
The boys find the cop's business card in Janosch's drawer.
Oh my god, it even has a watermark.
They sweat Dinky down. There's only so much loyalty you can have when your face is going into the fire and you're going to end up looking like your friend who you've seen suffer for however long. Jeff Jeffries goes over and harasses and threatens Janosch in front of Helen. Dinky's sweaty in the middle there. Then they shoot him and throw him to the roadside. I like Dinky. He's sympathetic. Just a dude got caught up in the racket. He's okay. He's pretty good. Dinky crawls to a gas station and calls a neighbor. They rush back to the phone to hear that there's a bomb planted in Janosch's car for when the radio is turned on. Helen gets blown to bits. Apollonia. No, wait, she's pretty much unharmed. She dead? She got a cut on her arm. She's okay. Oh, no. Oh, wait, no, she's dead. This dude just lost everything for the second time.
You can't do wrong and find happiness in life.
But something always happens. Janosch concocts a plan to get even. He leaves a note to tell the cops where to find him, leaves all his money to Dinky's mother, preparing to never come back. When Dick Richards and his thugs get on a plane to fly to a job, they realize too late that Janosch is flying the plane. He did say he was in the army. Janosz lands the plane in the desert. They can't kill him because he's the only one who can fly the plane. He tells them all that they will die.
Foolishly and vainly you will hope. Hope that somehow you will be saved. And slowly you will surely die.
Damn. Great monologue about these guys getting what they deserve. They tie him to the wheel of the plane, and after shooting one of their own for trying to drink the water, did he dump it? Should have grabbed it first. Now they're killing each other to survive, and the three men go off in different directions. The cop finds the men dead later. Then the movie ends. The face behind the mask takes an innocent outsider looking to improve his life and takes away his face, his fiancée, his job, his will to live. The American dream becomes the American nightmare, giving only to be taken away. The brief glimpse we get of Janosz's face and the creative ways they shoot Laurie like a fake Shemp, keeping his face obscured at all times until he gets the mask, it gives Janosz a more powerful, almost ethereal presence. When the mask is presented, Laurie is made up in such a way that one may believe his face is made of rubber. I enjoyed it all the way through. The ending where everyone dies is appropriate. Everyone dies, but justice survives. This film has an emotional core. I'd say thematically it's very much like Frankenstein, where Janosz is Victor, who has created the gangster monster. And try as he may to run, the monster will take everything he loves away from him until he is forced to face it. Also, my face makes no difference if I can work with my hands. That's straight up commentary on discrimination practices that continue to this day. Special effects? The mask was excellent. The makeup looked pretty good. I didn't freeze frame it or anything, just took it for what it was, and it was believable to me. Of course, the fire stunts at the beginning, pretty cool. They didn't have CG back then. This is short and well edited. It will feel like a half an hour if you get engaged with it. Peter Lorre gives a good monologue at the end. Check it out for sure. Okay, I'm Tom, and that was totally random.